Let's see, Ms. Patterson from the San Joaquin Tributaries Association. There you are. And after that, Mr. Doug Brown, and after that, Mr. Zlotnick.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for enduring.
It is evening.
Yes, it is, almost. My name is Audrey Patterson, San Joaquin Tributaries Authority, SJTA. Again, thank you for lasting this long and hearing us. I just wanted to touch on two things that were discussed earlier today. The first being the SED. Now, we do plan on submitting a letter to you later, which will give you broader detail and help keep this very succinct. The first thing is that as the SJTA, we will be commenting that, as Mr. Fiorini touched on, there is no estimate of what benefit will be given to the fish. And we find that there should be trouble with that with the DSC because that thwarts what the co-equal goal of ecosystem restoration is. And then secondly, there is no dry year analysis in the SED. And the problem with that is that they average out 82 years, and that dilutes the impacts of what the water supply will be, which again thwarts the other co-equal goal of water supply reliability. Then the third thing is that all of their analyses are based on a method of operating that has never and would never be used as from the irrigation districts. They are looking at the irrigation districts cutting back their deliveries, and the irrigation districts just simply can't do that. Too much fallowing will already occur, and the irrigation districts have let that be known to the State Water Board, and yet their impacts are very little to none because they are taking away from the irrigation district's users. We would urge the DSC before they comment to consider this and consider the impacts on the co-equal goals that this will have. The impacts do not reflect what really will be impacted on the ground. And so before you accept the conclusory statements that there are little to no impacts in the SED, to really think about it deeper and where the no impact conclusions are coming from. The 82-year average, we know that drought years, critical years, they're going to happen. And those aren't addressed. Those impacts from those severe years, they aren't addressed at all. Those impacts look like there really aren't anything occurring that year because it's averaged out with the rest of the 82 years when there might be wet years and average years and such. And so, like I said, there will be a letter that details much more of this. And then secondly, I did want to touch on Dr. Lund had mentioned something as far as a lot of the entities have to come together, coordination of agencies, and that really made me happy to hear because we agree with that strongly. And so you can imagine the SJTA's frustration when in the past month, the DWR, they issued...
Don't use too many acronyms so we can keep up with you.
Sorry.
Okay.
So the Department of Water Resources, they sent a status report to the State Water Board on what their South Delta Temporary Barriers Program will be this year. And that is that the head of Old River Barrier will not be installed. And they did not give any reason for that. And that's despite the NIMS coming out with a letter and statement saying that they found significant benefits of having the head of Old River Barrier into fish. And so for them to not install that this year without any reason why, it's really frustrating because it goes against everything that the SED is trying to accomplish, and other programs for that matter. The letter also said that they will be installing 3 agricultural barriers. Grantline Canal is one of them, I believe. The other 2 are escaping me right now. I apologize. But that also seems to go against the State Water Board's goal of unimpaired flows in the South Delta. And so this whole idea of agencies working together for the same goal and the same purpose seems to really be, everything seems to be working against each other instead of working with each other. And so the SJT is really frustrated because they're feeling the burden of the SED impacts, and then they're seeing things from the DWR, Department of Water Resources, coming out and saying, oh, we're not going to do this even though we know that it will help the fisheries. And we just, without any reason why. So, of course, we're left to just assume that we're going to be making up those impacts and not knowing why. So please take that into consideration in your coordination of agencies. And, again, please strongly consider those SED impacts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, just for,
Sure.
so they offered no explanation as to why they were going to do it. I mean, it's one thing to say we're not going to do it, and they can say just because. But, I mean, they did offer no explanation?
No explanation at all.
And that doesn't seem reasonable that an agency doesn't at least offer explanation why, either
Right.
timing or some other strategies at least, you could disagree with their conclusions, but.
Sure.
But they offered no explanation.
No explanation that I'm aware of. I'd be happy to include the letter to the State Water Board.
If you could, I'd just be curious. It doesn't
Absolutely.
seem reasonable they wouldn't offer an explanation of some sort.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.